Listen. Anytime I get a message saying, "Hey, you want to talk about your comic book?" and I'm like, yeah. Everyone I know is tired of listening to me talk about it. So if someone wants to hear me talk about it, let's freaking do it.
KZMB All Zombie Radio.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Punky Brewster. That's my intro because I can't be bothered to come up with anything better. And I am here today with a very special guest, Kyle Goodman of a brand new comic book series called Here Walks Monsters. Thank you for being here, Kyle.
It is an honor and a privilege. As we were talking about prior to starting, I will never turn down an opportunity to talk about my comic book. So I'm excited to be here.
All right, so you were generous enough to send me over an ash can
Mhm.
of the comic, and I'm a comic book reader, and I didn't even know what an ash can was. So, would you mind telling I looked it up, but would you mind
Yeah.
telling the audience what an ash can is?
So many years ago, the the comic book business decided that as long as you printed something, you own the copyright to it. So what a lot of companies did was they would do a very small print run of what they called an ash can, and it was literally just to print it once and throw it right into their ash can and throw it away. It's just so that was theirs. It had a lot to do with the Shazam controversy and a lot of that. So it spawned from that. And as of late, the indie comic community has kind of adopted it as like a preview of their comic that they're working on. Like for me, I did the normal is about 7 pages. I ended up going with 10 for my Ashcan because I felt like it needed that to really capture you. Because I don't, when I write, I don't try to just put a whole bunch of cool stuff in your face so that you want to keep reading. It's a story. So at the beginning of any good story, there has to be some exploratory dumps, and you know you can't just go right into the action. So I needed the 10 pages to start telling a story and then throw in a little action at you. So like I said, the indie community now kind of uses it like a preview of what they're working on. So that's the first 10 pages of my first issue, which will be 20 at minimum.
Okay.
I'm starting to think I might go a little bit like more towards the normal like 32 for like the big two and a lot of the companies do. But that's one thing I like about self-publishing is I can make all those decisions as I see fit. And I don't have any publisher going, "Hey, when is that next issue coming out?" It comes out when the art is done. I'm sorry, like I don't rush art. So yeah, that's where we're at, and I really like that the ash can feel because like it gives something in your hands or digitally to really feel what the story is. You get to look at the art, the lettering, the world building, and you can't put all that much world building in 7 to 10 pages. So it usually, if it sucks you in, it's a good tell that the full comic might be pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I did look it over, and you are joined by artist. I'm gonna butcher his name. I'm gonna butcher it.
He knows. We actually talked about that because I still get it wrong because I've never met him in person. We've had a
Okay.
long relationship on Instagram for about 3 years now, and then he's never actually done. This is his first published comic book as well, and the fact that a man as talented as him is not a published comic book artist is absolutely heinous. And he's literally every time I tell him and he sees the clips of me talking about him and his art, he's like, "Dude, you gotta stop! I'm gonna start crying." I'm like, It's the truth. You're that good, and we're gonna get this to the next level." And his name is Martin Olivier Digenet. I
There you
think I
go.
got it right.
I
I
think you
think I
got it.
got it right.
I think you got it. His art is beautiful, one, but
Yeah.
very interesting too. It almost lends itself to like an anime feel on certain panels.
Yes, well that's by design. So
Okay.
when I write and this is my first comic book, so I literally write directly to Martin cuz I know him and he'll understand what I'm saying. And I write it very cinematically. In different panels, I'll say this is supposed to be like an anime cutscene. This is
Okay.
supposed to be like in the book, there the Ashcan, the character does like this front roll, and I said, remember the old panels of the '90s Daredevil where he would be jumping from the ladders and everything from the walls, and you would see like the echo imprint. He was like, "Oh, I know exactly what you mean," and he just did it, So, and I write it so that, and this can be taken a lot of different ways by people, but I write it so that if anyone's interested to adapt it, they can see a cinematic feel to it and look at it and go, "You don't have to do much work to this to make it ready for screen,"
Yeah.
And I'm not. My desire isn't to get it adapted and be the next Walking Dead or whatever, but if it's good enough, it should warrant that anyways. So I'm going to make the book good enough to where if it does get options, people will not look at it and go, wonder why this got optioned. They go, oh, this is why. And
Sure.
and that and I feel like a lot of people get lost in just trying to make the next big hit, that they don't focus on writing their story. And I've been very lucky that I've been writing this story for almost 10 years now. It initially started as a novel many years ago before my house got broken into and they stole both my computer and my external hard drive that had the first like 50 chapters on it. Um,
Yikes.
and then now looking back, I randomly found like the roadmap I made, which is a long Word document with every single stop, every item, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. And I decided to turn it into a comic book. And I am very blessed and lucky that I've been working on it for so long, because it's not just something I'm coming up with. This is something that I've came up with and I'm revisiting and looking at and with new eyes and fresh eyes. And it's been awesome, to be honest. I can't. This is like dreams come true type thing. You know what I mean? Like, and I
Yeah.
didn't even know as a kid I wanted to write a comic book, but I always loved comics. So to be it, I'm officially a published comic book writer. Like that is 100%. I'm in CGC's database. Like it's legit, and I'm really at the point where it was like it really hit me after MegaCon. I was like, oh my god, I did it. I did it. Like, but and it just makes you hungry and want to keep going.
It must be surreal too. There's just
It
when you
it
hit
it
points like that,
really
it's
is.
yeah, there's no other way to describe it.
Well, it was interesting. I was at MegaCon with the 305 Miami Comics booth. Two booths down was Arthur Sadum,
Okay.
the king of zombies, the one who did Marvel Zombies, Walking Dead, which I'm sure you knew.
Yeah.
And he did a remark on one of my blanks, and he actually flipped through it, and he was like, "Wow, this is pretty good." And I it took every single bit of internal fortitude to not just break down crying right there, because if that man looks at my zombie comic book, and I didn't ask him to look into it, I just paid him to do a remark. He looked at it, I was like, oh, who published this? I'm like, me. Who wrote it? Me. What? And then like he opened it up and looked at it, and I was like, oh my god, it is word you use, surreal. It really was. And
Mhm.
I've been very blessed in the last few months. The way this has taken off has been insane.
I was gonna say, so this has been pretty rapid, the growth on this for you, because you started a Kickstarter, what, like 27 weeks ago or something like that?
Yeah, it was. I think if I'm remembering correctly, I started in December, if I'm not mistaken, or in late November. But yeah, it was fully funded. I would be 100% sent out and fulfilled, but I'm having to go back and get like two more people who haven't answered their backer reports. Like, come on, you paid me already. Just give me the information I need so I can send you what you paid for, please. And it's and then I have some good friends in the community. I've spent the last few years cultivating great relationships with not only artists and creators, but also people who run their own comic shops and attend these massive events like MegaCon.
Hmm.
And the ladies at 305, one of them is Tina, and she's an artist. And we started talking about doing a cover, and we did, and we contacted MegaCon, got the licenses. Like, there was a 100% official MegaCon exclusive. Like, there was a lot of exclusives there that were oh, official, but this one was, and to have it on there on the official MegaCon, like to this day, if you go on the MegaCon website and look at exclusives, the Here Walks Monsters ash can is just sitting there, like wedged between some of the most established comic books out. And then Cover Price actually also added it to their platform and named it as one of the comics to get at MegaCon.
Wow.
And it was really funny how that happened because like I was just on Instagram, Cover Price followed me. I was like, oh, I like the Here Walks Monsters account. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then I reached out. I was like, hey, so what would I have to do to get on the app? And they were like, didn't even message anything back except sending 2 links that were from their app already going, you're already on, and we're putting you on the what to buy at MegaCon list. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like there's been a lot of times in the last few months where I've been like, what is my life? Like, how did this happen? Like, and I mean, this is just the beginning, and that's the point where it's starting to sink in. Like, we started running this long marathon. Gotta keep pushing. So yeah, it's been nothing short of amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's impressive to see the trajectory that you've been on because it's been really rapid. The Kickstarter was funded 10 days before it was even over, which is
Yep.
impressive. And yeah, it just in a very short period of time you were really able to like put all of this together and then do something really cool like go to MegaCon and you sold out, right? Of all
Yeah.
the copies, which is
It
insane.
we had a 50 print run, and it was on Sunday with like an hour left, and I had 2 copies, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, if I sell out, I sell out. If I don't, no big deal. Massive achievement still. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. And then the salesman in me, like kicked in, and like I couldn't. I was like, I gotta get up. I got up and stood next to it, and then I saw somebody, this family, really looking at the Marvel Zombie stuff and the Walking Dead stuff a few booths down. And as I walked by, I'm like, hey, you like zombies? He was like, yeah, what's up? And I was like, let me talk to you about Here Walks Monsters. And I told him, like, I gave him my pitch. It's what the story is. It's looking at the fall of mankind and what would happen when society is no longer there to tell us how to behave. I believe that the human race turned into mostly monsters. So I set that in a zombie apocalypse. And he was like, whoa, that sounds really cool. And I set it in a world similar to ours, but not. So there's going to be pop culture references and things that are like this takes place in a world where zombies and Walking Dead exist. So they know the lore from the TV shows, and not all of it's correct, and stuff like that. But and then they're like, "Wow," and I'm like, "Yeah." And I looked at them, and I'm like, in my back of my head now, I'm like, I can't believe I did this. Like, these are my last 2 left. We get this, we sell these, I'm sold out. The guy looks at me dead in my face and goes, you just sold out. Let me get them both. And so I kept my composure, and then the artist was like literally 2 booths down. I was like, Tina, come on, we gotta sign 2 more. We gotta sign the last 2. Let's go. Come on. So we start the whole process of signing it, and it takes a long time because I'm fancy, and no one's told me how to behave, I guess. And so I have a 2-tone signature, so I have to first do one, wait for that to dry, and then sign the rest of it. And it was a chromium cover, so it took a while to dry. So we got to keep, we're fanning it. We started the slogan, just keep fanning. What do? We fan. And that's what we were doing the whole weekend. And then once, it was done, I had because those are actually there, because I sold out my half of the run on Saturday. So I was out. So that was just their last 2. So I had them take the money, and I walked off, and I literally almost broke down in tears right in front of Arthur. Like, when I tell you, I'm like, got my face in my hands, I'm breathing heavy. I'm like, oh my God. He looks up, he's like, you okay, man? I was like, yeah, I just sold out. And he was like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Shook my hand, like, congratulations. This is the start. This is just the beginning. I'm like, thank you so much. Oh my God. And I'm literally thinking to myself, if you cry in front of the king of zombies, you will never forgive yourself. So I held it in and was just so happy and grateful that the support was there, and I haven't seen a single one resold. And while I would hope that eventually people can make money off of my books, because they're like, oh, I'll never sell this. I was like, listen, I'm hoping one day that you can sell it and buy yourself a new car. So if that's the case, do it. I won't be bothered, I assure you. But no one's resold them on eBay or anywhere else that I've seen. So that means they bought them for themselves to keep. And that means more to me than making a buttload of money like a lot of people are in it for.
Well, you're selling to like genuine collectors, I would assume.
Yes.
And
people who are looking for a story. And that's what that's the one thing that I focus on the most when I'm writing is I'm going to tell a damn good story. And if you like that, that's what you're going to get.
I would be remiss if we didn't mention your letterer.
Yes.
Tyrone Jackson.
Yes.
Very cool detail in the lettering that there is a different style for your male character and your female character.
Yeah. So that was something so he came on very late. Initially, Martin was going to do the lettering, and MegaCon last year, it was done. The 10 pages were done with his lettering. And I brought it to MegaCon thinking, like, the digital version, thinking, people are going to love this. I'm going to send it to print, and I'm going to be a superstar. Yeah. And the response wasn't as glowing as I had hoped. They said, wow, the art is amazing. I like where the story's going, but the lettering isn't good. And that's important. And at some point, I think I knew that, and I was just kind of hoping that I could get away with it, which obviously I didn't. So I had to go back to the drawing board and almost gave up again. I was like, man, I just don't know enough letterers. And then how am I going to do this? My good friend John from Encased Comics, he reached out and was like, hey, how's the Kickstarter? How's the Ashcan going? I'm like, it's dead. It's not happening. He's like, and then we talk, and he gave me his letterer, because he's working on his own comic book as well, which is Tyrone. And one of the things I was adamant about is I have very specific needs, because again, I'm trying to tell this cinematically. So I want to be able to, if people are paying attention, have a character speak off panel, and know that it's that character. And I wanted to make, the main character who sees just everything in front of him as a monster and needs to destroy everything more gruff, more aggressive. And then the quote unquote soccer mom, Karen, to have a more like relaxed and beautiful, if you will, way of speaking on the panels. Because I think that's important. I think it makes those little things that a lot of people who just casually read may not notice, but like the people who actively read will pick up on things like that and really like it. And like when they're in the hallways and they're whispering, I made a note they should be whispering, not knowing what he was going to be able to do with that. And he like made the background more translucent and made it, you can look at it and go, wow, they're whispering. Oh man. And when he came in, he just breathed so much life and energy into the project that it really pushed it to the next level, because I was on my last, 10 years I've been working on this. And I was like, all right, this is the universe telling me you're not good enough. Give it up. You tried and you failed. It's okay to move on, and then when he jumped on board, it was just, as I say, the rest is history,
Well, it's pretty incredible that such a, what you would consider like a small detail in comics, one, is so important always, but two, that he makes it so clear that one style of lettering is gruff and rough, and I kind of, you hear it like in a gravelly kind of way. It's just lettering, but it does sell that point to the reader. So it's very cool. It's very, very cool.
For me, the lettering can take on a life of its own and become its own character in the story. And that's what Tyrone brought to it what he did with the lettering. I say it on every single interview. I am probably the luckiest creator on the planet, because I don't have anywhere near as many issues and horror stories that I heard from many people. It's a pleasure to work with Martin. Like, we are on a different level when it comes to how we communicate, and just, he knows what I mean and I know what he means, and he's French Canadian, so some of some things get lost in translation sometimes. But he and we just still know what we're talking about, and Tyrone, he's again, like you said, he was able to take my vision. I'm like, this is what I want, and he absolutely delivered and nailed it. And I only had a few times where I had to go back and forth with Tyrone, and that's because of me, because of my writing. Me and Martin, when he's doing the pages, we tend to do rewrites, and then I forget to adjust that. So what I get from the letter isn't correct because I messed up, and that's on me getting better. I made a lot of mistakes on this, even how great it's been so far and how far we've come. There's still a lot that I need to learn. There's a lot that I'm going to grow and do better moving forward. And I'm just excited to keep telling the story. Martin, as the next 10 pages, well, actually 7 pages because I'm rewriting the last 3 because I'm going to make it more gruesome. But I'm going to wait till all of the art is done, and then I'm going to literally go basically rewrite the script with the art, and then that's what I'll give to Tyrone this time. So there shouldn't be anywhere near as many errors on my part that make him have to do more work. So I'm hoping that with that change, maybe also writing a little bit better, that's on me as well. Those little disagreements or little errors we had initially, we can start to iron out with learning each other more, because he's literally just came out in the last 6 months.
Well, it's all a learning curve, right? You're a storyteller, but you're learning how to tell stories in this specific way, and you're working with 2 people who have been doing this kind of work, but you're all learning to work together. So it's just a huge learning curve. But you guys put out a great ash can, so I think it's working. It's working for you.
There's been the very first person that bought a copy at MegaCon, he comes running up and goes, "This 305 booth?" I'm like, "Yes." This Herox Monsters? Yes. He's like, "Yeah, I saw that it's a zombie comic book that takes place in Florida, and I had to make sure I had a copy." I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And I'll be honest, I feel bad. I really want to hopefully one day be able to give them a better copy of that, because I was literally shaking. That was my first signature. It was literally the open, the very moment the doors opened for the general public on Thursday, came running with his kid. And I was so like, cute. when I tell you that is the worst G in the history of signatures, because it was, I was like, I'm like, okay, let's make sure this looks great. Oh, it looks horrible. Oh shit. All right, we're going to keep going. We're just pretend that didn't happen. Okay, that's just how it works. That is how it looks. That's part of it. And man, the whole experience, it was, I look back to it and still have these almost creepy, I'm sure, Joker-like smiles creep on my face, because I just think about different moments of that the whole weekend, and I'm just like, wow, that was insane. It's just something, I can't win, and not for nothing, but I am working hard to make the next ones happen. I'm definitely going to be at SuperCon in Miami with the 305 ladies again, working on doing a panel and getting in C2E2, and trying to weasel my little tiny way, my little life-size Hobbit body into NYCC as well. And LA Comic-Con is also a definite. So yeah, this is the thought that I'm doing a con circuit, even a small one, or any type of way, it's something the little kid in me that didn't even know he wanted to go to conventions, because I'm old enough to remember when they didn't really exist, especially not to this magnitude, and yeah, it's a dream come true. I sound like a broken record, but that's just, the emotions. It's just in awe and just absolute gratitude, and I'm not gonna let anyone down. Anyone who got one of these ash cans, anyone who's excited for what comes next, You might not want to eat before you read, but you're not going to be disappointed.
Good. That's what we're looking forward to, is being disgusted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what we want. So I just wanted to ask, like, what is your inspiration for this? Like, were you a huge zombie fan prior to this, or is this just a story that you were interested in telling? Like, how did you get here?
So both. This has been a story that I've wanted to tell, as I said, for a while now. I started writing it almost a decade ago at this point. Because I when I look at like society and I think of what the social norms are around the world in different places and how differently everyone leads their lives, and that's because of how they're conditioned, all of us, whether no matter what part of the world you are, your society around you dictates how you behave.
Sure.
And I just always thought, what would happen if society was no longer there to tell people how to behave? So I've always wanted to tell that story. And then in my head, how do you tell that story? Well, it has to be after the fall of humanity. So a post-apocalyptic scenario. I love zombies to the point where I can absolutely enjoy watching an horrible, like the worst zombie movie you can ever imagine, and just be the happiest person ever. Like, and it's the movie I always reference is Pro Wrestling Zombies. It has
It's so bad. It's
yes,
so
you
bad.
know, it is one of the worst movies of all time, but I love that movie so much. I mean, to see Jeff Hardy, or was it Matt Hardy, and some of the wrestling greats like handling zombies, it's just horribly good. And I've been a zombie fan my entire life. I love and both infected and zombies, and that's what all that influenced my book, because my book is not just a zombie book; it is a zombie and infected book.
Okay.
Because in my book, the pandemic kills off a whole bunch of people, and they got reanimated as zombies. They then bite someone, they become infected. So
Gotcha.
we can't have those people going, it's not actually a zombie comic book because the bites make them infected, so it's an infected comic book. No, it's both. It's both. Because some of the, like, when was it 28 Days Later, they're like, that's not a zombie movie.
The Infected. Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
It's an infected movie that reminds me a hell of a lot like zombies. Thank you so much for.
I ranted about it in a previous video of mine about how.
And I'm one of those
angry I am.
people that would make that argument. Like that's what I do. I look at movies and things, and I dissect them to the point where people probably get annoyed to listen to me talk. So I get it. I make fun of them because I am one, So I wanted to avoid that. And that's another thing that I'm going to be doing. Like, best case scenario, this takes off. I'm going to have contests to find plot holes. If I have a plot hole and you find one, I will not only thank you and not bash you or complain about it, but I will find a way to close it and put you in the book.
That's great. I love that.
Because I am OCD and overanalyze, overthink on everything. So if it got past me on the millions of times I've reread it, then you deserve some praise. And I want to thank you so I can fix it. and that's another thing about my book. I'm giving people a chance to get in the story as well. Like on the Ashcan, on the Kickstarter, the highest possible backing was to get written into the story. So those people are now part of the Here Walks Monsters universe. They are then we've talked. I talked to all of them, and we have their stories. Like some of them might even be so important, like might be the number 2 of the big bad, might be, someone who's in the background the whole time, there's a lot of ways that I'm going to make these people get into the book. And I've already talked, like one of them, I'm going to spoiler territory here. One of them is going to be traveling across the country to try to go save his kids and wife.
Oh.
So when we talked, I was like, listen, I'm okay with this, but you have to know there will not be a happy ending. He was like, I would expect nothing less. but that's still what I want. I said, understood, just so you know, it's not gonna end nice and pretty. This is a zombie apocalypse, chillins. Like, that's the thing, and I made a point to make sure that the people in my book, the main characters, are people who probably wouldn't survive in most zombie or horror titles. A short dude who is normally, they get made fun of and killed quickly, and the soccer mom, they're there to look good and get killed quickly. That's normally how it goes in many horror titles. I decided, no. They're the main points of this book, and they're going to be shown to be not only worthwhile and useful, but real. And the way people look at a lot of characters in entertainment, they lock onto these archetypes and they don't let go. And you can get, like, some actors get typecast because, oh, you're 5'5", you're the short lovable companion, and guess what, you're probably gonna die. And they sign up, sure, let's do this. Well, I want representation, so I didn't see enough in entertainment, so I decided to write one my damn self.
I love it. I kind of, from the Ashcan alone, I assumed that you were a zombie movie lover, because there's one specific line that you included that I was like, that's what we all say. But if you don't mind, I'll read it real quick. There was a time before all of this crap when I hated my normal life, when the mundane was too much, and I remember hoping for a zombie apocalypse. When I read that, I was like, this guy gets it. Like, he gets it for sure.
And that's the thing, and that's why I had it set in a world similar to ours, and I made a very specific point to say it was the 2020 pandemic, and I had the president in the book looks an awful lot like Obama. Well, Obama was not president in 2020.
No.
So I wanted to, little subtle things like that. Like, it's a world almost like ours, but it's not.
Yeah.
And if it's a world like ours, the main character probably would have spent a lot of his time watching The Walking Dead and all these other, and reading zombie comic books and all that other great stuff. And I want these characters to feel real, like as if they were happy. It was the zombie apocalypse in our world. Like, I'm gonna have, one of the things I'm working on is doing a scene in a couple issues down the road of, like, just funny points during the actual outbreak, and one of them is going to be at a convention. So there's going to be, like, zombie people at the convention, and maybe some cosplayers that have agreed to be in the book that look like certain characters, so I can have them in my book without legally breaking any copyright infringement laws. Maybe working on that diligently. Yeah, so, like, I wanted to feel as real as possible, and I felt the only way to do that was to put people who wouldn't normally be the center of attention in a story like this.
Yeah.
So I felt that was the most important thing to do.
Having been to New York Comic Con, that was my greatest fear. Was like, I was on an escalator looking down and seeing all these people, and I'm like, I would die here.
Yep.
There's so many people here. So
Yep.
that is fair. That is a fair and realistic way to portray that. I guess, let me ask, what is your all-time favorite zombie movie?
Okay, so my all-time favorite zombie movie is Shaun of the Dead.
Okay.
I absolutely love the mix of comedy while still being arguably a very grounded zombie tale.
Yeah.
But I will admit that I have had to stop watching a lot of zombie content because it was kind of affecting my story.
Sure.
Like, I realized that the version of the main character that you see early on in the book was very Morgan-esque. Like, I must clear. I was like, ooh, that's not good. And then, like, I started thinking about my big bad. I was like, wait a minute, that's, you know what? I might need to stop watching these, And so I really try to stay away from any grounded zombie movies and materials now. But I really love, like, Black Summer.
Oh yeah, that's great.
was one of my favorites. I thought they did that really well. And then of course Walking Dead. And I like to compare my book to The Walking Dead meets the realism of The Last of Us, because I don't have the quadriceps zombies, but it's more about how evil people become in the Last of Us universe. So like I that's how I feel. It's more the traditional zombie-esque feel of The Walking Dead meets the realism of The Last of Us. So The Last of Us was, in my opinion, one of the greatest infected series of all time. The way they did that. I mean, we're only one season in, so they could still ruin it. Look at Game of Thrones. But as it stands right now, it's by far the most impressive one to me.
The TV show was well done. The video game is better, so I have a tough time with it.
I really hate myself because I am like a huge gamer for many years, but for whatever reason now, I can't play any games that are like that. Whether it's The Last of Us or even like the Batman, Spider-Man, like any game. Like I bought the God of War on PS4, played it for 2 hours and couldn't get past the first level while watching the how-to guides. Like I just can't do it anymore. I sound 10,000 years old saying that.
It's true.
But like
it's
I can't.
The older I get, the worse I am at it.
So I've watched a lot of the cutscenes, but I'm glad I didn't watch as much as I probably could have when the series came out. Because like the one part that I knew almost beat for beat what was going to happen was when they met the Christian guy, with the burning of the
oh yeah,
like that
I
whole
cannot
scene.
Remember his name, but yeah,
that whole scene, I knew exactly what was going to happen. I was like, "Aw, this kind of sucks," because like I know how this is going to end. Aw.
Yeah,
it's still good, but like a lot of the other stuff, I was like, "Oh my god, I did not expect that." So like I like being able to go into things fresh like that. And like I've gone back and watched pretty much everything, so now I know the full story. But yeah, I really hate that I can't do it anymore. like it bothers me because I want to play those games. I just can't.
I wasn't good at it, but I played it as we were doing the coverage of the TV show.
Yep.
I'm one of those people. I'm like, well, I'll just do Animal Crossing because it's like I don't have to think about it.
See, that's why I play sports games. I play like nothing but sports games because I don't have to think. My fingers just do it. Yep. We're good. I could just zone out for a little while and relax.
N64, I'll go back there and I'm great. I'm aces, but newer video games. It's the older I get, the worse I get.
I'm gonna have to destroy you on Mario Kart. I was banned. When I tell you I was banned from the family console because they wouldn't let me play because I wouldn't let anybody win. I was toad and I beat everyone always. Always. Even when they used to try to team up, like 4 of them versus me, 3 of them. And they're like, all right, everyone, let's work together. And nope. You're not beating me on Mario Kart. That's Mario Kart 64. That's my jam. Like, it's over. No one can beat me.
Literally, we're showing our age so much right now.
Hey, at least we didn't start talking about Atari, man. I remember ponging the hell out of things.
All right,
showing your age.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm really appreciative, Kyle, of you taking the time to talk about your comic. I know it's exciting because you want to talk about it, so we're both doing each other a favor here, I guess.
And I couldn't be more thankful. And like, when Brian reached out and told me, I was like, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Like, I didn't need details. Like, he first like, hey, I got a friend who wants to interview you about your podcast, about your comic book, and I immediately went, good. And then he was like, this is the person, this is what they do. I'm like, oh hell yeah, and then but like, yeah, I know it was zero hesitation. Like, you tell me when and where and I will be there. I'm not even 100%, so I'm still recovering from this nasty flu, and I'm like, no, I will be there. I will be medicined up and ready to go.
Well, I'm thankful despite the plagues that are post convention sicknesses, because yikes, so many germs. But
Yeah.
but I'm very thankful for you being here, and yeah, everybody go check out Here Walks Monsters. And do you have a date for the first like issue yet, or are we still working on
So
timeline?
we're shooting for March. The way it's been working with Martin and Tyrone, they need about a month to finish to do all the work combined. And let's see, I've gotten official completed art for page 11. 12 is almost done, and he's already storyboarding 13.
Wow, okay.
So because and that's the one thing, that's the biggest thing why I feel like I'll always be self-published, is because I refuse to have deadlines. I highly doubt I'll ever be every month, every 2 months, or whatever. I'm not going to rush art, and his art is so spectacular that it deserves as much time as it needs. So I we're shooting for March, mid-March to late March on Kickstarter. Hopefully we'll be good to go. And my print shop only takes about 10 days turnaround to get me my books when I order them. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, once it's ready, it'll be, as I will be shouting it from the rooftop of rooftops, to let everyone know, because I'll be so excited I probably won't be able to sit down for a month, because I'll be just vibrating off. We're so close. But yeah, I mean, hopefully March is what I'm shooting for.
Okay. And is your only way to purchase it going to be through Kickstarter at this point?
Initially, yes.
Okay.
The plan is to have, like, I'm in talks with about 4 or 5 different local comic shops to carry it, and hopefully I can expand that moving forward. But at the initial release, yes, that will be the only way
Okay.
to get them. But there'll be. I'm already talking with people about doing exclusives and and covers, for signings and things. So there will be more prints of it, but the initial run of it, yeah, will be only on Kickstarter.
Okay. All right. Well, the link to the Kickstarter will be down in the description box below, so you can go click on that and check out Here Walks Monsters, which I think it's very promising. I think we're going to see big things out of this. So, thank you, Kyle, for being here.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it. And send our best to Martin and Tyrone for their great work as well.
I absolutely will do, and once this airs, I will shove it down their throat and make them watch it. Do you hear how I talk about you? I love you guys. Like,
sounds great. All right. Well, it's been great, everybody. I will see you in the next one.